Welcome one and all to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews. Well, today everybody, as you can see, we're taking a look at our boy Tarn. And I gotta say that, as you can see right off the bat, our boy Tarn is getting right into the action, firing upon his enemies, and man, he is just so awesome, especially for a Cybertronian tank, and I love some of the detailing that is going on with this boy. Now, as far as him being a Voyager, he is technically, but it's kind of funny because when you put him up against, his illustrious leader over here, you can see that there is quite a size differential between him and Megatron. However, despite that, you gotta admit, it just looks so awesome to see these boys fighting side by side, destroying Autobots right and left. Now, in Transformers, when you look at tanks, typically a one-barreled variant is the thing that they usually gravitate towards. However, this is not the first time that we've seen a double-barrel tank. For instance, in the Fall of Cybertron game, we actually saw a Cybertronian Brawl in which he had two barrels. But what's interesting about that very game is that Tarn's model actually seems to have derived inspiration from one of the main bosses that you fight there, or I guess sub-bosses, that being a Decepticon destroyer. And it is very interesting because that game came out in 2010 and our boy Tarn didn't make his appearance until 2 years later in 2012. Yet when you look at a lot of the aesthetics and the design choices for his alt mode, it seems like maybe the writers for the comic book maybe took inspiration from the Destroyer. And you know what? I'm not mad about that because it was a sick design for Tarn. The boy has made it his own. He just looks awesome and totally menacing.
Transformers Reviews presents Dumb Ways to Die.
It's like, are you seriously trying to rock up on this guy? Well, too bad, because he ain't letting you.
Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die.
For as impressive as this vehicle mode is, though, it's really where his robot mode pulls out all the stops. So without a further ado, let's get right to it. So here's our boy in his robot mode, taking his position once again alongside his illustrious leader, Megatron. For me, it's always kind of felt like Tarn was trying to out Megatron in the fact that Megatron has one big fusion cannon, and Tarn's like, well, guess what? I'm gonna have two. And it's like, Tarn, it's all about quality, not quantity. It'll never be as good as Megatron's fusion cannon, but Tarn still makes that double barrel thing look good. So this boy is just serving it up because of the sculpting and detail that is on this guy. I mean, he is just awesome. Everything from your obligatory lower leg combat port, the excellent sculpting on his torso, and even how the barrels now, they look like sort of eskrima sticks that he could just take off and beat somebody with. The main thing that everybody loves about this figure is that while it was a mask in the comics, here on the figure it's just his actual face, being the Decepticon symbol itself, which just screams this, evil fanatic energy. And I mean, it all just comes together to make our excellent looking boy here. Well, our boy Tarn, he is not limited by his weapons. He has like 4 or 5 different variations of how you can use them. It looks amazing. So it's probably a good thing that the G2 G-Axis and Tarn never met, because basically their ideologies are pretty much the opposite, because this boy wanted to create a race of superior Decepticons to annihilate the current generation of Decepticons, whereas you can imagine that Tarn would definitely not be down with that treasonous talk, considering it was the annihilation of the Decepticon race. Given how these boys are just bulky, and you can tell that they can definitely throw down, oh man, this would have been one brutal brawler beatdown. Man, I really wish we would have seen this. So for Tarn, this is probably the ideal outcome, considering he's dedicated his entire life to the Decepticon ideology, which all that basically means is that Megatron would be ruling the conquered planet of Cybertron. What if this boy actually ended up being permanently offline? In that case, wouldn't technically Tarn be the perfect heir to the Decepticon throne, I think that he would make a heck of a lot better leader than, say, I don't know, Starscream, who we know would definitely raise an objection.
I am the leader! Please, don't...
Well, it's not like Starscream ever knew when to quit anyway, but Tarn is notorious for not tolerating traitorous trash, so it makes sense. But anyway, I'm just happy to have a full-on awesome representation of a character who's obviously a fan favorite. I mean, his figure doesn't let us down in any way, shape, or form. And that's awesome to see. Now, I know that in the comic deal, Megatron turned his back on the Decepticons and Tarn hunted him. But I've never liked Megatron being a good guy. That's just, no. Unless it's Shattered Glass, then it's okay. But I prefer the Tarn that is loyal to a Megatron who is a Decepticon and will never abandon his men. He'll use them as pawns, but he'll never abandon them. Aside from that maybe spicy take, I actually hope you guys enjoyed looking at the Legacy Evolution version of Tarn. This boy's actually kind of been a little bit of fun to shoot this video. So, with that being said, guys, like I mentioned before, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in another review.